Namaskar. So recently, France had decided that it would recognize Palestine as a state in the General Assembly of United Nations in September 2005, when there is going to be a session. And soon, it was, of course, a welcome decision, although we don't know why it took France so long. Why did it take all the suffering in Gaza, uh, to make the French president think about giving statehood or recognizing the status of Palestine as a state? And then, surprisingly, uh, England also said the same thing, that they too would recognize Palestine as a state in the September General Assembly session, and soon it was followed by Canada. This is, of course, welcome, uh, and we hope that ultimately United States, which is proving to be the biggest obstacle in bringing peace to Gaza. Uh, Donald Trump has claimed more than 30 times that he made India and Pakistan agree to ceasefire. Of course, the government of India denies it. The Pakistani government doesn't say anything about it. But if this is true, that Donald Trump got India and Pakistan to agree to a ceasefire, he deserves congratulations, because no war is good and he stopped the war. But why doesn't he take the same interest in stopping the war on Gaza? Because Israel gets all its material, moral, political power from United States. Whenever there's a resolution moved against Israel in the United Nations Security Council, it is the United States which comes forward to veto it. United States has been giving money, arms, and even personnel, military personnel, to Israel to carry out this, uh, genocide in Gaza. It is not a war, because it is lopsided. Uh, Except for 7th of October 2023, when Hamas carried out the attack on Israel and 250 Israeli citizens were made captive, 50 of whom are still believed to be with Hamas, and 1,200 people were killed. After that day, almost every day, people have been killed in Gaza. The number has gone over 60,000. It includes mostly women and children, which violates all laws of war, is a crime. And further worse, Israel deprived the citizens of Gaza of basic material, from fulfilling their basic material needs, like even food. It prevented food from reaching and made hunger a weapon, starvation a weapon to kill Gazans. And it was only after people started talking about a situation of famine in Gaza that the conscience of some of these nations was pricked, and France took the initiative, which was very welcome. But what is intriguing is that England saying that it will recognize the state of Palestine. Now, if you go back to history, it was in 1917 that through Balfour Declaration, England suggested that Palestine be divided into two countries, or rather, Israel should be created in the region where Palestine exists. There was a UN resolution in 1947, and it said that two states would be created, Israel and Palestine. Of course, the Palestinians never recognized Israel, but what, and of course, we can understand that Israel would not recognize Palestine if the Palestinians did not recognize Israel. But what prevented the other countries, the other powerful countries, especially the members of the United Nations Security Council, because it was a UN resolution that a state of Palestine would be created. So, what prevented the other countries, and especially England, which was the first one to talk about creation of Israel, committed two major uh, mistakes in 1947. One was the division of India into India and Pakistan, because of which the two countries are still suffering. 10 lakh people died then during the communal violence in both countries, when Muslims were being forced to leave India, and Hindus and Sikhs were being forced to leave Pakistan, and train loads of corpses, dead bodies would arrive from both sides. So it was, uh, you know, a major kind of suffering by a large human population, and we still continue to pay the price by wars from time to time, and violence and terrorism and all that. And similarly, the region of Palestine, where now Israel is a recognized country, is a powerful country, has been witnessing violence since, or even before 1947, which is still continuing. Except that Israel, the only difference between the two situations is that in in South Asia, the population already existed; it was just divided. In West Asia, people were brought from outside. Jews were brought from outside to create a nation. They did not live there from before. And second is, whereas between India and Pakistan, one country doesn't uh, dominate the other country to such an extent that the other country would feel suppressed and oppressed. But in the case of Palestine, the Palestinians have been at the receiving end, whether it was Nakba, when 7 lakh Palestinians were forced to quit their homeland in 1947, or whether it is now when over 60,000 have been killed out of a population of 2.3 lakhs, and uh, mostly women and children, and people have been starved to death. And there is almost everyday killing. Every day people die in Gaza. So uh, it should have it should have occurred to the powerful nations of the world, to the members of Security Council, that if you don't allow Palestine to exist as a state, then a legitimate body which contests elections and comes to power, like Hamas, will be described as a terrorist organization. And the wing of Hamas, which is responsible for the security of Gaza, the Al Qassam Brigade, will be described as a terrorist organization, and the United States and Israel would simply refuse to talk to Hamas, because they think that it is a terrorist organization and they can't have negotiations with a terrorist organization, and all the time they are busy trying to dismantle Hamas. Compare this situation with Afghanistan. When United States had to leave Afghanistan, they actually engaged in dialogue with Taliban, who were described as a terrorist organization. They have officially, formally handed over power to Taliban, knowing very well that the rights of women, especially under a Taliban rule, would be eclipsed. Women will not even be allowed to study, not to talk of other kind of civil liberties. So, knowing very well what they were doing in Afghanistan. They had a dialogue with an organization they described as terrorist organization, and they handed over power to it. And Taliban is much bigger than Hamas. So what prevents United States and Israel to have a dialogue with Hamas and to arrive at a solution so that the war is ended? But hopefully, with recognition of Palestine as a state by France, England, and Canada, and we hope that more countries will join. We only hope that Palestine will get a proper, uh, recognition in United Nations as a state. Right now, it just has a non-member observer status, which means it can be there, it can watch the proceedings, but it cannot participate in decision making. So this is a major mistake committed by the nations of the world, which needs to be corrected immediately, and especially by the countries which are members of the Security Council and other powerful members of the world, which control the decision making in United Nations, and they all of them must recognize Palestine as a state and force Israel to have a dialogue with Hamas, because it is the elected organization. It has an elected government in Gaza, and the Palestinian Authority, which has a government in West Bank, and arrive at a solution so that this genocide which is going on can be ended, so that people's starvation can be ended, people can get food, and slowly the other things that they have been deprived of, and they can lead a normal life like citizens of any other country. So it is very important that Palestine gets recognized as a state. It's the Palestinians living in Gaza and West Bank are recognized as legitimate citizens of a legitimate country, and their security is recognized as an official army of the Palestinian state, not not as a terrorist organization, which is condemned by Israel and United States. So it is very easy for them, to just label Hamas as a terrorist organization and then convince the world that what they are doing is the only correct, thing to do. So Palestine desperately needs legitimacy, and 142 countries, of which India is also one of them, or 148, one of those figures. But majority of the countries on earth, in the world, they recognize Palestine as a state. It is just that these powerful countries who control the proceedings of United Nations Security Council do not recognize it, and it is high time that they recognized it and they end the suffering in Gaza. It must be done now. And the mistake that England has made, it is because of its decision that Israel was created. And it is shameful, it is shocking that England hasn't recognized Palestine as a state till now. Thank you.